Today, I believe that I'm being called to lead by helping to clear the field in this race so that a positive, conservative message can rise to the top of the field. With this in mind, I will suspend my campaign immediately. I encourage other Republican presidential candidates to consider doing the same so that the voters can focus on a limited number of candidates who can offer a positive, conservative alternative to the current frontrunner.
That was Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker last night announcing that he is suspending his presidential campaign. During the speech, Walker urged more candidates to consider to do the same, and he seemed to take a shot at Donald Trump there. What happened to the pledge that everyone would support the winner? And what does it mean for the GOP in the race for the White House? We continue with the author of a brand new book, Disgrace to the Profession, columnist Mark Steyn. No matter what people say, this pledge that will support the eventual nominee doesn't seem to apply to Trump, even though everyone pressured him to sign it. Reaction?
No, people are being quite openly dismissive of it, including Scott Walker, who's basically saying that maybe another 12, 13 guys should bail on this competition, and so the anti-Trump figure will emerge. And that'll be the end of him. But the fact is, he's wrong. I mean, generally, in the last few weeks, there have been a handful of candidates near the top. Unfortunately for Scott Walker, they're not the ones he would have preferred. They're Trump, and they're Ben Carson, and they're Carly Fiorina. And just to go back to what we were talking about before the break, Sean, Scott Walker was not a credible candidate on, for example, the issue of the migrants pouring out of the Middle East. He said that was a hypothetical question, and he wasn't ready to answer it. It wasn't hypothetical. It's going on our TV screens even as we speak. And so what that means is that he's basically saying he's a performing SEAL who hasn't yet been given his poll-tested answer by his consultants yet. And that's why Scott Walker pulled out. The idea that somehow Scott Walker is now going to lead a sort of coalition of wise men who will unite the Republican Party against the joke candidate. His campaign failed in part because on serious issues like that and on immigration and other issues, he turned himself into a joke.
Let's talk about the Democrats. Let me just read off some headlines about Hillary just today. You have a charity watchdog group warning people not to donate to the Clinton Foundation. You have United Talent Agency in Hollywood. They've turned their back. Now George Clooney reportedly is ready to support Biden in the race. You've got unions now that have put off their endorsement of Hillary, waiting to see if Biden gets in the race. Ed Klein has a new book coming out that raises serious issues about her health, that might hurt her in the race. For the first time in New York, her poll numbers are underwater. And on top of that, the Clinton camp is trying to warn Joe Biden about getting into the race. Add the email scandal to this. How does she get to the finish line at this point?
Yeah, basically, Hillary has defeated Hillary. Nobody else can defeat Hillary. Hillary did this to herself. And if you're the president, it's not a difficult choice. Do you want the Democrat Party to go over the cliff with Hillary Clinton, or would you prefer to back another candidate, such as Joe Biden, who will be a more explicit third Obama term and doesn't come tainted with all the sleaze? The central dynamic of the Democrat race has been that Obama loathes the Clintons, and he's the only guy who's ever successfully driven a stake through the heart of the Clinton machine 8 years ago. Right. And every indication is that Hillary is such a weak candidate that he's ready to do it all over again.
All right, so look at the Mark Steyn crystal ball. Who's going to be the Republican nominee? Who's going to be the Democratic nominee if you had to pick today?
Well, look, I think going into Iowa and New Hampshire, lots more Republicans are going to fall by the wayside. Donald Trump, Ben Carson, and Carly Fiorina are not going to be one of them. The question is whether there's an establishment candidate, a senator or a governor. I mean, all the governors left in the race are ancient history now, like George Pataki and Jim Gilmore. But whether there is one of those figures strong enough to see off the Trump-Carson-Fiorina thing. And I think at this stage, that's very doubtful. You know, whatever you feel about Lindsey Graham, I know you always roll your eyes when I mention him, but he's actually very sincere about his issue, and he's going nowhere. The leading establishment candidates, like Jeb Bush, don't seem to be able to project any compelling reason as to why they're running for president. That was Scott Walker's problem. So they got to find a guy, if they want to knock out Trump, they got to find an establishment guy who can be compelling, who can be passionate, who can be, if you disagree with Trump on birthright citizenship and the border wall and all the other stuff, you got to be able to do it with some passion and hammer him. Otherwise, right now, he's going to win Iowa and he's going to win New Hampshire, and after that, all bets are off, and they'll be the ones wishing they hadn't signed the pledge.
All right. Mark Steyn, thank you for being with us.